The alien capital was alive with light and sound, a city that seemed to float above the surface of a strange green-hued planet. Towering spires shimmered with bioluminescence, and hovering vehicles wove between them like silver threads. The streets below buzzed with citizens of all shapes and sizes, their forms elegant and alien, moving with a grace humans had never imagined. The air was thick with the hum of energy and the faint scent of exotic flora that had been genetically enhanced to glow at night. At the heart of it all, in the largest palace the planet had ever known, the alien queen stood with a calm expression, her presence commanding silence wherever she walked. Her crown sparkled, reflecting the city's neon glow, and her robes trailed behind her like a living river of color. The day had begun like any other, with preparations for the grand ceremony that marked the anniversary of the queen's rule. Dignitaries from all corners of the planet had arrived, their faces painted with anticipation and respect. The queen had spent hours reviewing schedules, checking every detail of the event, but nothing could have prepared her for what was about to happen. A sudden, sharp alarm echoed through the palace halls. Guards shouted warnings, and citizens screamed, the melody of panic clashing with the planned music of celebration. A rogue faction, dissenters from within the royal court, had launched a sudden attack. They were not numerous, but their weapons were deadly, far more advanced than the palace defense systems had anticipated. The queen's security detail moved quickly, forming a protective barrier around her, but even their skills were not enough. Energy blasts struck the walls, throwing shards of glowing crystal into the air. The queen, though powerful in her authority, had little experience in direct combat. She stepped back, assessing her options, her mind racing. She could feel fear prickling at her nerves, though she refused to let it show. And then, without warning, a human appeared. He did not run in like the palace guards or dive behind cover. He simply stepped forward, calm and precise. In a world where humans were considered fragile and weak by most alien civilizations, his presence alone was startling. His clothing was simple, utilitarian, but his movements were deliberate. He analyzed the attackers, anticipating their actions, and with tools that seemed almost primitive, he began disabling them one by one. The queen could not believe what she was seeing. This human moved through chaos like a stream through rocks, fluid and unyielding. He did not rely on sheer power but on cleverness, improvisation, and quick thinking. Guards and attackers alike were caught off guard, slipping and stumbling as the human outmaneuvered them at every turn. One attacker swung a weapon, aiming for the queen herself, but the human was already there, intercepting with a sudden motion that sent the weapon clattering across the floor. The queen's eyes widened, a spark of recognition flickering in her mind. There was something about this human, something familiar that she could not immediately place. The rogue faction began to retreat, regrouping at the edges of the hall. The human did not give them the chance. He used the environment to his advantage, hurling objects, creating distractions, and turning the attackers' own strategies against them. Within moments, the initial wave of chaos had been broken, and the palace fell silent, except for the hum of its energy systems and the soft gasps of those who had witnessed the scene. The queen approached cautiously, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and curiosity. She studied the human closely. His hair was dark, his eyes sharp and intelligent, and there was a quiet confidence in the way he carried himself. She could feel the faint pulse of recognition tugging at her memory, but she could not place it. "You saved me," she said softly, almost to herself. The human looked up, his expression steady but not arrogant. "I could not let them take you," he replied simply. His words were calm, but they carried a weight she could not ignore. The queen's mind raced back to a memory she had buried deep. Years ago, she had been younger, exploring a dangerous region of a distant planet as part of a diplomatic mission. A disaster had struck. She had been separated from her entourage, trapped in a landscape filled with predators and unstable terrain. She had thought she would not survive. And then, from the shadows, a human had appeared. He had navigated the treacherous landscape with precision, rescuing her when no one else could. But by the time she had tried to thank him, he had vanished without a trace. Could it be the same human? The thought made her pulse quicken. Her mind tried to reconcile the present with the memory, and a mixture of shock and awe swept over her. The human studied her as well, noting the recognition in her eyes. He said nothing about the past. Perhaps he did not realize the connection either. He simply stood, ready to act again if needed. Outside the palace, the city was in turmoil. The rogue faction had regrouped and was attempting a more coordinated attack, this time targeting key infrastructure. The human glanced toward the windows, assessing the situation. "We need to move," he said. The queen nodded, trusting his judgment even though she did not yet understand why. They moved through the palace corridors, the queen keeping close to the human as he guided them past danger. Guards and citizens looked on in amazement, their eyes wide at the sight of a human leading the alien queen to safety. It was not just his courage that impressed them, but his intelligence, his ability to adapt quickly to an alien environment and threats that none of their own could handle. As they reached a secure chamber, the queen finally asked the question that had been burning in her mind.
"Who are you?"
she demanded, her voice both stern and curious. The human smiled faintly. "I am someone who believes in helping when it matters," he said. There was no boast in his tone, no claim of heroism, only quiet certainty. The queen studied him, noting the strength in his calm demeanor. There was something about humans she had never understood before, a spark of ingenuity and courage that no alien had ever possessed in the same way. She realized that the stories of human fragility were grossly exaggerated. The rogue faction's attacks continued to ripple through the city, but within the palace, a new understanding had formed. The queen could feel it in her bones. This human was extraordinary, and his presence was not random. He had come for a reason, though what that reason was, she did not yet know. For the first time in her life, the queen felt a mix of fear and excitement, a realization that her world was larger and more unpredictable than she had ever imagined. And at the same time, a spark of trust had been ignited, fragile but undeniable. The human, aware of the subtle shift in her attitude, did not push further. He simply waited, his eyes scanning the corridor ahead. He had faced danger before, and he understood the importance of timing and patience. He would act when needed, and until then, he would let the queen consider what had just occurred. Outside, the city trembled under the weight of chaos, and inside, the queen began to piece together the fragments of her memory. The human standing before her, who had risked everything to save her, was the same one who had once rescued her in a distant, forgotten time. The thought was almost unbelievable, but the evidence was undeniable. And then, as if sensing her realization, the human spoke again. "You are safe now," he said quietly, "but there is more coming. We need to prepare." The queen nodded, understanding the gravity of his words. The rogue faction would not give up so easily, and she knew that their next moves would be even more dangerous. But for the first time, she felt that she was not alone. She looked at him, truly looked, and the memory of the past rescue flooded back. She remembered the fear, the uncertainty, and the relief she had felt when he had appeared. And now, standing before her again, he had brought that same sense of safety, but with the added power of experience and knowledge. The palace, once a symbol of untouchable authority, now felt like a place of possibility, a place where human ingenuity could change the course of events in ways she had never imagined. And as the sounds of distant chaos echoed through the city, the queen realized that the human standing there was not just a rescuer. He was a force that could redefine the relationship between humans and her people. For a moment, time seemed to pause. The queen and the human stood together, the weight of their shared history pressing between them. She saw not just a stranger, but a figure who had once saved her life and was now standing ready to do so again. The realization filled her with a strange mixture of wonder, respect, and curiosity. She did not yet know how this encounter would change her world, but she understood one thing clearly. humanity had just proved itself once again, in a moment of unexpected heroism, that it could stand alongside even the most powerful alien beings and make a difference when it mattered most. The human looked at her, waiting, calm and composed, and the queen, for the first time in her reign, felt a deep sense of gratitude and admiration for a species she had once underestimated. The moment was brief, but its impact was profound, and as the palace halls echoed with distant chaos, the queen understood that this was only the beginning of a story that neither she nor her people would ever forget. The city outside the palace was no longer just a place of beauty. It had become a battlefield. The rogue faction had regrouped, their weapons now more coordinated, their strategy sharper. The hum of energy from the alien towers was punctuated by explosions and the roar of fleeing citizens. From her vantage point in the palace, the queen could see the chaos unfolding, and for the first time, she realized how vulnerable her people were. The human, who had once saved her life in a distant past, stood beside her calmly. He observed the battlefield with sharp eyes, noting every detail, every potential danger, and every possible advantage. His presence gave the queen a sense of reassurance she had never experienced before. She knew that he was not just brave. He was intelligent, resourceful, and unafraid to act even in the most dangerous circumstances. The queen took a deep breath and addressed him. "We must protect the citizens. They cannot be allowed to suffer for our mistakes," she said, her voice steady despite the tension. The human nodded, already forming a plan in his mind. He pointed toward the city's central energy hub, which powered much of the defensive systems and lighting. "If we secure that, we can turn the tide," he said. Together, they moved quickly through the palace corridors, which had been reinforced but were still vulnerable to sabotage. Guards and aides followed, inspired by the human's courage and the queen's determination. The team moved with precision, guided by the human's quick thinking. He instructed them to use barricades strategically, to create traps for the attackers, and to make every corner of the palace a challenge for anyone trying to break through. As they reached the central hub, the queen watched the human work. He did not rely on alien technology alone. Instead, he adapted human tools and combined them with what the palace offered. A device that seemed simple, a compact control interface, became a powerful weapon when he rerouted energy flows to disable rogue drones. Alien guards stared in awe as energy shields rose and fell according to his subtle adjustments, protecting key entrances and forcing the attackers into disadvantageous positions. The queen realized that humans had an approach she had never seen among her people. They did not follow protocol blindly. They observed, adapted, and improvised. She had always prided herself on intelligence and strategy, but in this human, she saw flexibility and ingenuity that surpassed what she had ever encountered. Suddenly, a group of attackers broke through one of the outer barricades, and chaos erupted in the control room. The human moved with surprising speed, intercepting the attackers before they could reach the main energy console. He used clever maneuvers, turning the attackers' own momentum against them, and within moments, the room was secure again. The queen watched, astonished. She could feel her respect for him growing with every action.
"Your people, they underestimate humans," she said quietly.
The human glanced at her with a small smile. "We are underestimated a lot," he replied. "But that is our advantage. People think we are fragile, unprepared, or weak. That allows us to be unpredictable." The queen nodded. She had always known her people were strong and disciplined, but she now understood a new perspective. Strength was not always about power or speed. Sometimes it was about cleverness, adaptability, and the willingness to take risks that others would not. As they worked together, the queen could see the city slowly shifting in response to their efforts. The attackers were losing ground, their confidence faltering as their strategies failed again and again. Citizens, inspired by the bravery of their leaders, began to assist wherever they could. Some operated defensive systems, others helped with evacuation, and many found hidden ways to slow the attackers. The human's presence had ignited something within them, a belief that even in the face of overwhelming odds, action and intelligence could make a difference. During a brief lull, the queen allowed herself to ask the question that had been burning in her mind since the human first appeared. Why are you here?
Why risk yourself for me and for my people? She asked, genuinely curious. The human looked thoughtful. Because helping others is the right thing to do, he said simply. Because I can.
Because no one should face danger alone if someone else has the power to help.
The queen studied him, understanding dawning.
His motives were not personal gain or ambition. He acted because he believed in doing what was right, no matter the cost. It was a principle she admired but rarely saw in practice. Her people had rules, laws, and hierarchies, but humans had a different approach, one that relied on personal responsibility, courage, and quick thinking. The attackers regrouped outside the hub, planning another strike. The human turned to the queen. We can't let them overwhelm the city. We need a diversion, something unexpected. He scanned the equipment and the surrounding area. I have an idea, but it will be risky, he added, his voice calm but firm. The queen considered the plan. It was bold, perhaps reckless by alien standards, but she trusted him. She had seen his capabilities, his intelligence, and his courage. She nodded. Do it, she said. The human moved quickly, using the city's energy systems to create controlled disruptions. Lights flickered, energy barriers shifted unpredictably, and parts of the attackers' formations were isolated. The rogue faction, confused and disoriented, stumbled into the traps the human had set. The queen watched as her people and the human worked in perfect synchrony, turning the tide of battle through strategy rather than sheer force. As the attackers were driven back, a new sense of admiration grew within the queen. Humans were unlike any other species she had encountered. They were not the fastest, the strongest, or the most technologically advanced, but their ability to adapt, to think under pressure, and to act with courage made them formidable allies. She realized that the stories her people had told about humans were incomplete. There was more to them than she had ever imagined. Hours passed, and the battle continued in waves. The human remained at the center, calm and focused, guiding the queen and her people through each challenge. Every move was precise, every decision carefully considered. The queen began to feel a deep sense of partnership forming between them. He was not just a rescuer from her past. He had become a leader, a strategist, and a symbol of hope for her people. During a moment of brief respite, the queen found herself reflecting on her earlier life, the dangers she had faced, and the unexpected rescue that had saved her years ago. That human had appeared then, just as he had now. And she realized that destiny had a strange way of bringing certain people together. She wondered if she would ever fully understand why humans were capable of such bravery and ingenuity. The human noticed her thoughtful expression. It's not about destiny, he said softly.
It's about choice.
Every moment we act, we choose what kind of future we want to see. The queen nodded, absorbing his words. She had always believed in strategy, in planning, in control. But the human's presence taught her a new lesson. Sometimes, the most important choices were made in the moment, with courage and intelligence, without hesitation. As the sun, or what passed for the sun on this alien world, began to rise, the battle was nearing its end. The rogue faction was retreating, disorganized and defeated by the combination of alien strategy and human ingenuity. Citizens emerged from hiding, cautiously returning to the streets, their faces filled with awe and gratitude. The queen looked at the human, a sense of deep respect and understanding filling her. He had not only saved her again, but had demonstrated the true strength of humanity. He had shown that courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act could overcome even the most advanced alien technology. For the first time, the queen considered the future, not just for her reign, but for the possibility of collaboration between her people and humans. She could see the potential for a partnership that would benefit both species, a chance to learn from one another, and a new way of facing challenges together. The human stood beside her, quiet and observant, his presence a steady reassurance. The Queen realized that this partnership was more than a chance encounter. It was a turning point. The world around them had changed, and humanity had proven itself in a way that no one could ignore. The battle was over, but the lessons remained. The Queen had seen courage, adaptability, and intelligence in action. She had witnessed firsthand how humans could change the course of events with nothing more than ingenuity and determination, and she understood that the bond formed through these shared trials would have lasting consequences for her people, the human, and the future of their worlds. The human finally spoke, breaking the quiet. "It's done," he said. "The city is safe, for now, but this was only the beginning. We need to remain vigilant." The Queen nodded.
Yes, and we must ensure that your actions today are not forgotten.
"You have shown my people the value of courage and intellect, and you have reminded me of a lesson I had almost forgotten, that even in the darkest moments, hope and ingenuity can prevail." Together they looked out over the city, the first light of dawn casting long shadows across the alien towers. The Queen felt a renewed sense of purpose, a determination to protect her people and honor the lessons learned. And she knew that, with a human by her side, they could face any challenge, overcome any threat, and build a future that embraced both alien wisdom and human ingenuity. The human, as always, remained calm, his eyes scanning the horizon, ready for whatever came next. The Queen understood that this was not just a story of rescue or heroism. It was the beginning of a partnership, a bond forged through courage, intelligence, and the shared belief that even the most impossible obstacles could be overcome. And as the city slowly recovered, the Queen realized that the true power of humanity lay not in strength or technology, but in the unwavering determination to do what was right, to act with courage, and to face the unknown with intelligence and heart. For the first time in her life, the Queen felt that the future was not just uncertain, it was filled with possibility. And she knew that together, humans and her people could shape that future in ways that no one could have imagined. The morning after the battle, the alien city was quiet, yet alive with a sense of cautious relief. Citizens emerged from their homes and hiding places, their faces a mix of awe and gratitude. The towers of the capital, once flickering with damage from the rogue faction's attacks, now shone with renewed energy. Repairs were underway, but the most important change could not be measured in structural integrity or restored lights. The spirit of the people had been renewed, and the presence of the human had left an impression that no one would soon forget. The Queen walked through the main hall of her palace, accompanied by her advisors and guards. Her steps were measured, her expression serene, but inside she was alive with thought. She reflected on the chaos of the previous day, the bravery she had witnessed, and the intelligence the human had displayed. Each action, each decision he had made, had demonstrated a kind of courage and insight she had never seen in her own people. The human followed her quietly, observing, ready to act if necessary. He did not flaunt his abilities, nor did he demand recognition. His focus remained on protecting the Queen and ensuring the safety of the city. But the Queen knew the truth. He had done far more than protect her. He had changed the course of the city's history, and perhaps even the future of her people. Citizens gathered in the main square, cautiously at first, then with growing confidence as they saw the Queen appear on the balcony. Murmurs spread through the crowd as they noticed the human standing beside her, calm and composed. Many of them had witnessed his actions during the battle, but seeing him now, so close to their ruler, solidified their understanding of his courage and capability. The Queen raised her hand, calling for silence. The murmurs faded into a respectful hush. "Yesterday our city faced danger," she began, her voice carrying over the square. "We were tested, and many of us feared what might come. But in that moment, we witnessed something extraordinary. A human, a being from another world, stood beside us, acted with courage, intelligence, and unwavering determination. He saved lives, protected the city, and reminded us of the strength that can come from unity, adaptability, and quick thinking." The crowd erupted in applause, their admiration echoing through the streets. Citizens cheered, not just for their queen, but for the human who had risked himself for them. Some whispered in awe, recounting the clever tactics he had used to turn the battle in their favor. Others marveled at the calm, precise way he had faced danger, moving through chaos as if it were second nature. The queen turned to him, her expression warm but composed. "Your actions have shown us a lesson we will not forget. Humans are more than we believed. They are clever, brave, and capable of shaping events in ways that no one could predict. You have earned the respect of my people, and of me." The human nodded, accepting her words with humility. "I only did what I could," he said quietly. "The real strength comes from the people. You, your guards, your citizens, they fought too. I simply helped guide the effort." The queen smiled, recognizing the truth in his words. His humility was as remarkable as his skill. He did not seek praise, nor did he expect reward. He acted because it was the right thing to do, and in doing so, he had inspired an entire world. In the days that followed, the city began to recover. Damaged structures were repaired, energy systems were stabilized, and the rogue faction was dealt with decisively. Many of the attackers were captured, others fled, and the queen ensured that justice was fair and measured. She did not seek vengeance, for she had learned that power without wisdom could be dangerous. Instead, she focused on rebuilding, strengthening her people, and learning from the events that had unfolded. Throughout it all, the human remained by her side, offering insight, advice, and guidance where needed. He did not assume command, nor did he overstep his role. Instead, he worked quietly, observing patterns, analyzing threats, and suggesting solutions that combined human ingenuity with alien technology. The queen found herself relying on him more than she had anticipated, and in doing so, she began to see the value of partnership between species. One evening, as the sun, or the planet's version of sunlight, cast long shadows across the city, the queen and the human walked together along the palace balcony. The city stretched below them, alive with activity, yet serene after the storm. The queen turned to him, her gaze thoughtful. "I have seen courage, intelligence, and adaptability in many forms," she said. "But what I have witnessed in you, it is different. You have reminded me that strength is not always about power or technology. Sometimes it is about understanding, improvisation, and the willingness to act when it matters most." The human glanced at her, his expression calm but reflective. "That is what humans do," he said simply. "We face the unknown, we adapt, and we help when we can. Not because we are stronger, but because we choose to be." The queen considered his words carefully. She had always believed in planning, in control, and in order. But the human had shown her that flexibility, courage, and ingenuity could accomplish what rigid strategy sometimes could not. She realized that the future of her people might depend on embracing this perspective, learning from humans as much as they learned from her. The days turned into weeks, and the city's recovery continued. The citizens, inspired by the events and by the presence of the human, began to explore new ways of thinking. They experimented with different approaches to problem solving, combining alien knowledge with ideas they had never considered. Innovation flourished, and a sense of optimism settled over the capital. The queen also began to consider the broader implications of their encounter. Humans were not just visitors or allies. They represented a new perspective, one that could complement the wisdom of her people. She began to imagine a future where collaboration between species could lead to discoveries, peace, and shared progress, and she knew that the human standing beside her would play a key role in that future. One evening, as they watched the city lights flicker to life, the human turned to the queen. "Your people are strong, brave, and intelligent," he said. "They just needed a reminder of what they could achieve when they worked together and trust themselves." The queen nodded, a quiet smile forming. "And you have reminded me as well," she said. "You have shown me the value of courage, adaptability, and intelligence in ways I could not have imagined."
I am grateful more than I can express, the human shrugged lightly. It was my choice, he said,
"And I would make it again. That is all anyone can do. Act when they can, help when it matters, and trust that it will make a difference." The Queen felt a deep sense of admiration for him. She understood that humans were not perfect, nor were they invincible, but their determination, ingenuity, and courage made them a force that could stand alongside any species. She realized that the lessons learned from this human could reshape the future of her reign and the relationship between her people and humans. In the following months, the Queen took steps to formalize a partnership with humans. Exploratory missions were planned, trade agreements were established, and joint councils were formed to share knowledge and strategy. The city thrived under this new collaboration, and the story of the human who had saved the Queen and the capital spread throughout the planet, inspiring generations. The human, true to his nature, did not seek fame or reward. He continued to act with humility, offering guidance where needed and stepping back when others were ready to lead. His actions had demonstrated the core values of humanity: courage, intelligence, empathy, and adaptability. He had proven that humans could make a difference in ways that went far beyond physical strength or technology. One quiet evening, the Queen found herself alone with him once more, overlooking the city from the palace balcony. The streets below were alive with citizens, their lives restored, their hope renewed. The human turned to her, as calm and observant as ever. "You have changed my world," the Queen said softly. "Not just through your actions, but through your example. You have reminded us of what is possible when we act with courage and intelligence." The human looked at her, his expression steady. "We all have the choice to act," he replied.
It is not just me. Your people acted as well.
I only guided, supported, and reminded. The rest was theirs." The Queen nodded, understanding the truth in his words. She realized that the future would be shaped not by a single individual, but by the courage, intelligence, and choices of many working together across species and worlds. And she knew that the bond formed through this experience would endure, guiding them through challenges yet to come. As the night settled over the city, the Queen felt a renewed sense of purpose. She understood that her reign would be defined not only by her decisions, but by the partnerships she forged, the lessons she embraced, and the courage she inspired. And she knew that humanity, represented by the extraordinary humans standing beside her, would play a crucial role in shaping that future. For the first time in her life, she felt that the possibilities were limitless. The human had shown her that even in the darkest moments, ingenuity, courage, and determination could prevail. And she knew that together humans and her people could face any challenge, overcome any obstacle, and build a future filled with hope, innovation, and strength. The human looked out over the city, calm and ready, as if sensing the weight of the moment. The Queen understood that his presence was not just a gift, but a promise. A promise that when danger arose, courage and intelligence would always find a way. And in that moment, standing side by side, the Queen and the human gazed over a world transformed by courage, partnership, and hope, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together, stronger than ever before. The city below shimmered with life, the people inside it filled with renewed determination, and the bonds between species had been strengthened in ways that would echo for generations. Humanity had proven itself once again, not through conquest, but through courage, intelligence, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. And so, in the quiet of the night, the Queen turned to the human and said, "Thank you for everything." He smiled faintly, his gaze steady. "It was nothing," he replied. "It was everything that mattered." The future stretched out before them, uncertain but bright, and together they stepped forward, ready to meet it.